Hi there, welcome back. So today is lowering spring day. EIBACH 20mm drop all round. I've done a bit of research on these, nothing too exciting, apart from you need to be able to get this off your front shock absorber and put it back on, or the old one off and this back on. So you need spring compressor clamps, whatnot, to squeeze these down to put on to the old shocks. The rears are slightly different, as the shock is independent to the spring, so you release the nuts on the shock, drop your suspension arm down, old out, new in. These should be done in 20 minutes. Fronts are a little bit different, so I'm going to go with the fronts first, because you've got to take the top mount off and then release everything from underneath as well, so it's wheels off and everything. I think I can do the rears without even taking the rear wheels off, but I can't really be sure about looking. I'll suss it out when I'm under the car. So let's go and get the car up off the ground on the front wheels off, and then we'll have a look at what needs to be done at the top and underneath. So let's go. Okay, so that's the easy bit, taking the wheels off, jacking it up. Don't do what I did and forget to loosen the wheel nuts before you jack it up. I had to use my impact gun to loosen them, but anyway, that's no biggie. So what we've got next is, I'm just going to show you exactly what needs to be undone to get the front strut off. And then I'll do one side sort of step by step, and then the other side I'm just going to whip off and get done, because this is exactly the same both sides. So I'll just put the old GoPro, show you what needs to be done, and then we'll start taking some things to bits. So what we've got here underneath the shock tower, there's three, it's hard to see in there, there's one of them there, 10mm bolt, so or nut, sorry, which just needs to be unscrewed and actually drop down, but that's going to be one of the last things I do, purely because that holds everything in place. So what we've got down here is you've got your drop link. That's a 15mm nut with a 5mm hex in the middle to stop the ball from turning. You've also got a 10mm bolt here which holds the your brake line on, so that's got to come off the strut. Obviously this here is the strut. Once you've taken them off, there's another rubber grommet here and another clip here for, I guess that's the ABS sensor, I'm not sure, yeah it is. And then once you've got everything else undone, you just undo these two here, which this should then fall away, and the strut should be free then, apart from obviously the three nuts up the top, which you unscrew, and then you should just be able to drip drop it down. So I think on the other side, I'll just check, let's have a look on the other side. I think we've got a headlight levelling arm somewhere. He says, I can't see it, anyway I'll find it. Right, let's get some bits undone. Right, so this is where we are. First things first, I'm going to get all these little cables and clips off first. So this should just pop out here, give it a little pull. Hopefully this will just pry out. Apparently these are renowned for breaking, but I think if I'm extra careful this should be good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Right. 10mm socket. Or spanner, which might be easier just so I don't break me bloody. There she goes. That's that free. I'll do the drop link next, which I think was this 15. Yep, 15, and a 5mm Allen key in there. You definitely need to hold that middle bit, otherwise that happens. So you need to hold this still and just undo the nut, and then that should just push right out, because you can see how loose that is wobbling around already. So right, there's no washers or anything on there at all, and that just comes out easy. So that's connected, disconnected, disconnected. The only two things now holding this in, these two bolts, nuts here. So that's okay. So I have actually, now I remember this, seen that it's impossible to get this bottom nut out with the brake caliper on, and I had forgotten about it, but I did know about it, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to have to do is just drop the caliper off. I think the other side you don't have to, but obviously this side you do. I'm just going to put them back in there temporarily to stop it flapping about. There's only 2 bolts I think that I'll do, and then the caliper should come off. I'll tell you what size socket that is in a second. 15mm. Just 15mm nut on there. Right, so it's just released the 3 bolts now up the top, and this strut should come out, so it's going to have a look up top. Right, I can see this is going to be a pain already, but there's one at the back, right at the back, which is going to be a pain, but anyway, let's just keep. Right, so spring compressors, I've got 2 different types, see what works best. Compress the spring, release the nut, take it over, swap the new one on, simple as that. So let me see how I can get these on. then, top nut, there's a nut and an Allen key head, so the shaft goes through to the bottom of the shock absorber. If you just twist the nut, it's just going to twist in the shock and you'll never undo it. Also you'll need a deep 18mm ring spanner, because the standard ring spanner just won't get on that nut, so you need an Allen key and a ring spanner. Put the right one on. Right, so now all I do is compress this back down, so I can get that back on there. Also, once you fit this back on, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 locations there, and on the top of the bit that goes on top of the shock, 1, 2, 3, 4. So just need to make sure all of them not, and that will only go down in one place. So I'm sure I see someone fitting some of these once and they screw it all back together and it was like that. I mean, that ain't no good. You need to make sure that's located. Okay, so that's one done. The next one is just exactly the same, so I'm just going to crack on, get the other spring on the shock, and then I'll go straight back into full assembly of the front, which I'm not going to go step by step because it's obviously opposite to what we've just done. So I'll just time lapse it, get the wheels back on, get it on the ground, we'll get the back up in the air and suss out how we're going to put the rears on. So I'll be back once the fronts are all fitted on, so let's get on. So what we've got on the back is a shock absorber spring. Obviously they're different to the front. The spring was inside on the front. Now all we need to do here is undo this, support under here, let some weight off, spring should drop out. That's my theory anyway, so I'll just see if I can get this undone. Alright, so there you go, suspension on, my first test drive, feels alright at the moment, no silly noises, no nothing. I mean, it took me, what did I start at 9:30, it's now 2 o'clock, so it took me 4.5 hours to do the full swap over of the springs. I mean, obviously I was filming as well, so that's probably added, I reckon that's probably added an hour on, so I reckon I could have done it in sort of 3.5 hours, I reckon, taking it at a leisurely pace. I know if you go, I don't know, if you went to a professional suspension garage, they'd probably do it in half the time, but then they've got all specialist tools where I haven't. So but anyway, I've saved myself, I don't know what they charge to put a set of springs on a car, 100 quid maybe, don't know. So yeah, at the moment I'm just sort of cruising, car still warming up, but to be honest with you, it doesn't actually feel any different than it did before I swapped them over, but obviously you've got the 20mm drop now, which looks a lot better, so I'm more than happy with that. I'm now off to somewhere to try and get a few photos, but the weather is really bad today, it's really dull, so I won't be getting very many brilliant pictures, but I'll get a few. So anyway, that's enough of that. I will hopefully see you when I'm fitting my Maxton Design full kit. I can't remember what one I bought. I think I've got the V2 front splitter, the same side skirts and the spats, and I've got the I can't remember what the number is, V2 rear diffuser, not the one that sticks out, it's more the subtle one. So I'll be fitting that hopefully next weekend, so we'll see how the weather is. Okay, hopefully see you on the next ones. Catch you all later.